My name is Howard Trimbitt. I am currently in the midst of the biggest transformation of my life. I avoided marriage until I was established in my career. Lilith, my first and only wife, was born a month after me. Earlier this year, we both celebrated our 50th birthdays. We had nothing to protect when we got married, so there are no prenuptial agreements. Lilith and I have been living in this house for 21 years. We moved here a year after we got married, and then brought our first child home 2 months after we settled in. Our second child joined us 2 years later. The children are now in college. Recently, I convinced Lilith that we should move to a gated community for couples aged 50 and older. As soon as we had firm commitments regarding the sale of our house, we signed a contract and allocated several $1,000s toward maintaining the new home. Now you understand why most of our things are packed in boxes. However, I do not intend to move into the new house. In fact, none of us will be moving. I just had a phone conversation with the realtor who withdrew our offer. The loss of a couple of $1,000s was a small price to pay. However, our time in the old house has come to an end. We really do need to move because we attended the closing 3 days ago, on Monday. We have until tomorrow to hand over the keys. Lilith thinks that I left on a business trip yesterday morning. I haven't worked since I resigned a week ago. I bought a one-way ticket to Atlanta. From Atlanta, I have a car waiting, and I'll drive to the bay, then board a ship. In a couple of days, I should be in my secluded spot on an island. I do not plan to divorce Lilith. I do plan to take all the proceeds from the sale of our house, my $401,000 payout, and most of our savings. With my newly acquired identity, I hope to live out my life sailing the Caribbean Sea. Opening offshore accounts cost more than I'd like to admit. Thanks to online banking and the corresponding amount of money laundering, all of that money is now in cryptocurrency accounts under my new identity. Since there are more than 10,000 cryptocurrencies, I really hope the one I chose survives. I plan to convert this imaginary money back into something more stable as soon as possible. Imaginary things can disappear at the most inconvenient times, like Lilith's wedding vows. Around 3 p.m., I called Lilith. She answered on the 4th ring, and there was a hint of annoyance in her voice. "Hi, honey. How was the trip?" "It went well, same as usual, just in another city." "What are you doing?" "Just packing up a few more things." "All right, lie number 1. She's 30 miles away, at Arnold Perniss's house. He is Lilith's current lover. I honestly don't know if he is her first lover, but the truth is, I don't care. One is too many. As much as I'd like to put a bullet in their heads, my revenge is simply to leave Lilith alone. Arnold's wife will likely take care of him." "Are you labeling the boxes with your things?" "Yes, dear. Mine are clearly marked Lilith. Yours are labeled Howard. It will be very easy to put your things in your closet and mine in mine. Could you please look in my desk for my daily planner? It should be in the top right drawer." A minute later, "I don't see it. Are you sure about where it is?" Lie number 2. She would have to be in my house, where my brother is currently staying, just to check. All I really cared about was that my brother had enough time to vacate the house I sold. Since it seems she's not planning to return anytime soon, I'm confident that my plans won't need to change. "No problem. You said you were having lunch with friends today. Where did you go? Do I know any of them?" "We went to a diner near my office. Just some ladies I work with. What are you planning to have for dinner?" Lie number 3. My investigator says she arrived at Arnold's this morning at 9 a.m. and hasn't left yet. I'll probably just order a steak to my room. The company pays for it. What else are you doing today? Besides letting that creep touch you, you vile creature. Just one more load of laundry and packing up the rest. I hear the dryer buzzing, so I need to go. Call me later. I love you. Will do. I think once you start lying, it becomes easier. There was nothing in this woman that I could trust. There were 2 rental trucks parked outside my old house, and 4 guys were loading things as quickly as they could. The truck with my things was heading to a storage unit that my brother rented this morning. The other truck was making its 4th trip to the consignment store. Both trucks were scheduled to be returned to the rental agency by 5 p.m. By the time I hung up the phone with Lilith, my old house was likely empty. I was waiting for confirmation from my brother. He definitely earned the $5,000 I paid him. The package for overnight delivery, addressed to my lawyer, was ready to be sent. I had signed all the legal documents and was sending them, along with the house keys and the garage door opener. Lilith would also need to return her keys and opener. My lawyer would contact her soon. I didn't call Lilith again. When I tried to talk to Arnold's wife and tell her about the investigator's report, she hung up on me. That's life. She'll receive the report along with the photos and videos, as it will be delivered by courier today. Then there were 16 packages that I sent by mail. Lilith's parents, her friends, her employer, her brothers and sisters, and damn it, even our children received the same package. I included notes in the packages to the children, telling them I was disappointed in them, that I was disappearing, and that I didn't know if I would ever get in touch with them again. And the package I felt best about, the one sent to Lilith by mail, allowed me to finally let it all out. Aside from stirring the pot, I'm not sure what I expected to accomplish. Yet, it was satisfying. Lilith, by now, you've probably realized that your depraved actions have led to the loss of our marriage. I took all the easily accessible money. I also took from the house what I wanted. The rest of our belongings were sent to a consignment store to be sold. My lawyer has the details. You can claim the proceeds. Don't bother looking for your jewelry. That gold fetched me a decent amount of money. The rings from your aunt brought in the most. My wedding ring didn't bring in much, but that's life. That diamond earring you got from Arnold wasn't actually worth much, just like your wedding vows. The house is now empty, and I've withdrawn our offer on the new home. It was just a ruse to get all the proceeds from our house. Thanks for playing along. I don't plan to divorce you. You can spend your money on that if and when you save up. I plan to replace you as soon as possible, but that's none of your concern. I've let the kids know that I'm disappearing. Since they were both aware of your affair and kept silent, I've decided to disown them. I've informed them of this. In reality, the market for old white adulteresses isn't that big, so good luck with any career you pursue. If your parents hadn't invested all their money into that retirement village, they might have been able to help you. Maybe you and Arnold can sleep in the same car. Maybe not. I don't know much about him. He's the dregs of society, but apparently, that's what you traded your comfortable life for. I hope all that seminal fluid you swallowed doesn't give you severe heartburn. I left you your father's pistol and a box of bullets. It's a shame you were too busy to join me at the shooting range. Well, just aim and pull the trigger. Got it? If you're planning a murder-suicide, make sure to do it in that order. If Arnold had kept his mouth shut, I might never have found out about the two of you. Bragging to a bartender about how he got a cherry from some old adulteress named Lilith was your downfall. What were the chances he'd walk into my brother Steve's bar? Steve said he was immediately suspicious because there aren't many women with a name like Lilith. It must be karma, especially when Arnold shared that selfie where he's holding your old chest from behind. When he paid with a credit card, Steve asked to see his driver's license. After that, it was pretty easy to get all the proof I needed. And all this for someone with a pencil-sized manhood? How stupid can you be? I hope you weren't planning to pin it all on me and run off with Arnold as your lover. Thanks for a few nice memories, but for the most part, the rest are tainted. Howard. Instead of leaving my phone behind, I tossed it to a homeless guy huddled against a dumpster behind the hotel. I recorded all the contact information I wanted to keep. I slept well that night. To be honest, it took a few mini bottles of alcohol from the hotel room. Since it was all on my credit card, I didn't care. I had no intention of being around to pay any bills. I doubt any of them will get paid. For the last 22 years, Lilith has been a housewife. She worked until she got pregnant shortly after we got married. I had a well-paying job, so she didn't need to work. Too much free time after the kids finished high school turned out to be her downfall. My investigator couldn't uncover much about how Lilith and Arnold met or how long it had been going on. What he did find out was that my children had met with them. For some reason, Lilith dropped by their college campus and invited them out to dinner. The investigator noted that he followed them and recorded video with sound. I was able to identify my children. Arnold was introduced as her lover. Whatever Lilith promised them, it led to their downfall. They had plenty of time to call and talk to me, but that never happened. After taking breakfast to my room, I caught a cab and drove to the used car lot. I simply walked out of the hotel. I'll let Lilith figure out why I didn't check out. I was supposed to check out only on Monday. In an old car, I headed toward the coast. By Saturday evening, I was on the beach, successfully withdrawing a pocketful of local currency from my new identities account. My first purchase was dinner with drinks. During the meal, a very friendly, scantily clad woman convinced me to spend more of that money on her. Compared to Lilith, whom I had slept with for over 20 years, this one was full of energy. With a few hours of breaks between sessions, I spent my money on a night of bliss. The exchange rates made it possible for me to do this every day of the week if that's what I wanted. And yes, at the moment, that's exactly what I wanted. Planning to set up new email accounts, I bought a laptop and a cell phone. It would be difficult to link the new me to my former self. I set up a VoIP phone number and got the latest news from Steve. He said Lilith called and hung up when he teased her about sex from behind. Lilith, at least Howard left me a gun. In my current state, I lie awake at night wondering if I should just end it all. There was a time when I was drunk on attention. I never realized that it was just a game Arnold was playing to turn me into his sex toy. If someone had told me a year ago that I would have an affair, I would have laughed in their face. There was no way in the world that it could or should have happened. Maybe I was ripe for the picking. I met Arnold at the gym. He worked out at the same time as I did. How did I even fall for all this well-rehearsed deception? Somehow, deep down, I think I wanted someone other than Howard. Someone who would tell me I was sweet, sexy, and desirable. He was patient. Compliments turned into drinks and conversations in the parking lot. The decision to stop by a fast food place for a bite to eat was my first mistake. Why on earth would a married woman meet a married man in a private setting? It took months to slowly lead me to what we eventually did. I started thinking about Arnold while having sex with Howard. Most likely, that's why it was easier to give in to the desire to please Arnold. I had already done it in my mind, so it was just a small leap. The way my ego was flattered by how well I did it and how my aging, yet still appealing body excited him, all fueled my infatuation. After Arnold pleased me, I felt he deserved me. I really was a foolish idiot. We moved on to meeting at his summer house once a week. It was quite easy to be a little late coming home from running errands. When Howard was out of town for a few days, I became Arnold's sex toy. Arnold always left me utterly exhausted. Each time, it was a mix of intense sensations and pleasure. Although his size wasn't as impressive as Howard's, the feeling of something new was impossible to ignore. Somewhere along the way, he made me believe that I should leave Howard, take my share in the marriage, and he would do the same with his wife. We could continue our sexual adventures as a couple. I don't know what made me tell my children about this, but I did. I think Arnold led me to this decision to strengthen my resolve to leave the marriage. When Howard went on that trip to Atlanta, I still hadn't decided what I was going to do. I thought I handled Howard's call skillfully. It was only in the morning, as I was getting ready to leave, that I read a message from my sister. She had received a package from Howard with detailed descriptions of my affair. Arnold, Howard knows. Good. You can start the divorce right now. But I don't. I stopped myself because I still hadn't decided if I really wanted a divorce. I ran to the bathroom and threw up. What have I done? Around that time, a car pulled up and a gentleman handed Arnold the divorce papers. That idiot. She's going to leave me with nothing. Take care of your own mess. I'm out of here. And with that, Arnold left. Struggling to get home, I found that our house was completely empty. I vomited again in my bathroom. As I was bent over the toilet, someone rang our doorbell. A package was left at the door. I feared the worst. Howard's letter crushed me. I called my children and told them about the nightmare my life had become. They had received packages too. They had video evidence of what kind of lover I had become for Arnold. They were shocked to realize that Howard no longer wanted anything to do with them. I think they were hoping for a chance to explain their reasons to him. I recognized my own guilt. After buying some fast food, I headed to the consignment store. My credit card still worked, which surprised me. Some of my items had already been sold, and the jerk there said that if I wanted my stuff back, I'd have to pay to cancel the sale. It was cheaper to buy back only what I really wanted. That fast food didn't settle well anymore. When I called Howard's cell, some drunk answered. The kids didn't have any better luck. I didn't think Steve would help me, but I had to try. He laughed when I started asking questions. Here's what I'll tell you, Lilith. I'll pay you $50 a night to be a topless waitress. You'll need one of those bras that lifts those saggy things you call breasts. What do you say to that? Screw you, jerk. Well, don't say I didn't try to help you. I hung up. Bastard. Those were the longest weekends of my life. I slept on the floor and then tried to figure out what else I should buy back from the consignment store. The only pair of shoes I had were the ones I wore home that day. I didn't have any of my makeup. I went to a discount store and bought bathroom essentials. I tried to talk to friends and family, but Howard had sent them the video. Not a single person wanted anything to do with me. The call from Howard's lawyer was alarming. The locks would be changed on Friday, whether I was there or not. Apparently, I could be charged with trespassing if the new homeowners decided to press charges. On Thursday evening, I loaded my worldly possessions into the car and spent the night in a cheap motel. The snotty kid at the front desk acted like I was an adulteress pulling some stunt. I had become homeless. I knew we had bank and brokerage accounts, but after reading Howard's note, I didn't expect to find any money. It took a lot of time at each institution to convince them that I had the right to access the accounts. I couldn't afford to rent even a cheap apartment with what Howard had left me. Fortunately, he hadn't canceled our credit cards. If I manage my spending carefully, I can live on those credit cards for a year or until they're revoked. My calls to find a divorce attorney only added to my pain. I didn't have enough money to hire a lawyer. None of them were willing to take the case on an unsecured basis. When Arnold called and told me he had nowhere to stay, I laughed at him. He suggested we get together for some sex. I told him where I was staying. Leaving the door slightly ajar, I sat and waited in my car. I left Arnold a note asking him to undress completely. A few minutes after he entered the room, I returned and opened the door to see a naked Arnold staring at me. I remembered what Howard had written to me. Aim and pull the trigger. I fired once, and the bullet almost perfectly hit his head, even though I thought I was aiming for his heart. I flushed the note down the toilet and waited for the police. The officer I spoke to looked skeptical when I told him that, upon returning, I found a naked man in my room and, before I knew who it was, shot him in self-defense. They confiscated the gun and escorted me to headquarters. I was allowed to leave, but 2 days later, I was arrested for first-degree murder. I forgot that there was a recording of that phone call, and they believe I ambushed Arnold. My court-appointed lawyer can best be described as a green-eared goat. I didn't have much hope of being found not guilty. At least my financial and housing problems were put on hold. Pleasuring my cellmate was not my idea or something that brought me any satisfaction, but she was so much younger and stronger that I didn't have much of a choice. I told my lawyer about it, and all he did was smile. After 3 nights of being forced to pleasure my cellmate, I stabbed her and beat the crap out of her. This got me out of that cell, but unfortunately, into solitary confinement. I might not have to worry about the outcome of my trial, as she made it clear that I'm a walking dead fool. When I asked where my dinner was, the guard told me I'd have to pleasure him or I'd starve. After it was over, I picked up my plate of dinner. I wanted to die. Hi, Steve, it's Howard. What's new? You'd better sit down, Howard. Lilith shot Arnold and then tried to kill herself. She's in a state psychiatric hospital. It felt unreal listening to Steve describe Lilith's ordeal. I'll talk to you later, Steve. My head is spinning. My lawyer said he would investigate and that I should wait for his analysis. Do I have anything to worry about if I go back home? How can I get my money back into the country? He told me to lay low for a few days, and he would verify what Steve told me and let me know what my options are. While strolling along the beach, it didn't take long to pick up another cutie for another night of bliss. I had her start with something pleasant. She wasn't a professional, but I was in 7th heaven. I was having fun and enjoying myself. Damn, it felt good. I planned to have some more fun, but when I woke up, she was gone. It's a good thing all my valuables were locked in the room safe. Still, it was money well spent. I can't say I remember her name, but maybe I'll recognize her on the street. The next day, having failed to find the woman from the previous night, I found another willing woman. These legal affairs were going in my favor. I became addicted to these pleasures. During sex, I don't think about my past life at all. I once read that money can't buy happiness, but money can buy ice cream. Ice cream makes me happy. There seems to be a disconnect here. The same goes for sex. Having a loving wife was nice until she stopped being one. Helping these lonely working mothers seems like a humane thing to do. It's been almost 9 months since my lawyer told me I could come back. I don't think that's going to happen. Since the first time, I haven't missed a day of sex. Some days I try to release women from evening until dawn. At lunchtime, when they see me show up, they light up and start smiling at me. I was still bitter about the kids, so I sent each of them a postcard with a quarter inside. Next time you face a tough decision, I hope you find the inner strength and courage to do the right thing. If not, here's a quarter to flip to make your choice. That's all I'm leaving you. Lilith is considered mentally unstable and remains in a state institution. The murder charges have never been dropped, so if she ever gets better, things will only get worse. Thank you for listening until the end.